So, Chris, if you are ready, you can hit us with that 201 pick.
I just want to get out ahead of this and say that I can see how this is going to go for me later in the draft. But for now, I'm going to be the brave man and take my third quarterback, Bo Nix.
Nice.
I think that it's a
you're
really
be starting
great
a barbershop quartet soon.
No, stop. I think that this is a really great landing spot. I think that Sean Payton got his Drew Brees, and that Bo Nix is going to be fed a really easy system. He's not going to be asked to do a whole lot, and he's just going to. I think he was a 12th overall pick. I think that getting him at the 2.01 of a superflex draft is just you just have to do it.
Yeah,
and I think I'm going to be saying those words again later.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. If you didn't take him, I would have sprinted to the podium. Okay. I think he's a great pick here. He went early in round 1. He's going to get multiple years to be a starter. And like you said, Peyton's going to set this up for him where I don't think he's going to have to do anything terribly difficult. So I think he has a decent chance of being like, a Derek Carr type of asset at least. And you get that at, I was going to say young. I mean, he's like 30 already, but at a fairly young age, that has value, even if it's not exciting. So
yeah, I mean, I'd pay 2.01 for 10 years of Derek Carr any day of the week. Yeah. Not that we're going to get that necessarily out of Bo Nix. He has to be good to get there, but
right.
I mean, he'll be a starter for the next 6 years. Well, 5 years, I guess, 5th-year option. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, assuming he doesn't totally wet the bed, that's what you're expecting him to do. Yeah. So here's where I don't want to be. This is like 109 redux. Like I have a bunch of guys I could take here. I don't feel super strongly about who's at the top of this group. I don't think any of the prospects here are flawless. I don't think any of them are guaranteed to hit. You've got some wide receivers here. There's one running back that I'm kind of looking at. I know Chris wants me to go quarterback. I'm not going to do it.
You can do whatever you want, man.
I'm gonna take Keon Coleman. I thought about going with Trey Benson, and honestly, if I was confronted with this decision in a real league, who knows if I would do the same thing. It's really close between the two of them. I think getting the opportunity to bet on Coleman here at the 202 when he's basically the same thing that we just did with Quentin Johnston last year, and we had to take him at the 108. That's very enticing to me. Like the Quentin Johnston bet was always a hard one for me to stomach at the cost, but now you're telling me, okay, I get to take this like big athletic receiver who went 33rd overall to a top 3 quarterback in the NFL on a team that has like no legitimate target earners. Like that is an exciting proposition, and his profile is definitely sketchy. I don't think he's guaranteed to hit, but I think it's late enough now where I can kind of shoot for the moon on this pick.
Yeah, I like it. That's exactly what I would have taken there. I think that should be pretty consensus, honestly. I think that getting him to the Bills with Josh Allen, with only Dalton Kincaid for target competition, really, for Samuel kind of too. I think if he hits at all, it's going to be a big hit or a really big miss. So you're kind of hitting, you're batting correctly there.
What do you guys think there? Was Coleman something you'd consider if you were in my shoes, or other wide receivers you prefer?
I could consider Coleman there, but I do like Trey Benson, I think, in this spot personally. You could probably make a case for Pearsall too. Obviously, the landing spot.
Shh. Haven't been drafted yet.
Ben, who do you think? So I know you like some other guys in this class too. You've got a bunch of options in front of you here at 203, and we can obviously talk about this tier throughout, and we can even circle back to Coleman if we want to. But Ben, with all these options in front of you, what do you think you do here at 203?
I'm gonna do something No, I'm not, because this is This is a vacuum draft, I thought. Because I could I have something I want to do here that I wouldn't do in a vacuum, but like
you should draft them as you would draft them in a real draft.
Okay, in a real draft.
I was just saying, like, don't base your picks off of like your previous picks in this draft.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, that's all I mean.
So if you're on the clock, 2.03, these picks, who are you taking?
If these are the players available, I'm taking Adonai Mitchell. Sorry
I love Chris's peer pressure. I love it
at all.
Do it
but
now.
I'm taking Adonai Mitchell. So I have a tier here, and I really wanted to take Michael Penix for sure, and then see how that would have shaken up like the next 3 picks to see if AD would have fallen to me at 207.
Wait, he would have saved me.
That's the only thing I was thinking about. But I'll stand on business. I'd take AD at the 203. I have done it, I think, in one league. I don't think I have that many picks in like the 201 to 203 range that have drafted yet, but he's my guy here. I as far as these next few receivers go, between him, Keon, and then a couple other guys, I just prefer his landing spot the most. I liked him the most as a prospect before the draft. So it's really like not that hard of a decision for me. I think that he'll work his way up and be earning targets at some point in the season. I don't know when that's going to be. I can't tell you like how long it's going to take him to really adjust to the physicality at the NFL level, which is I think going to be a thing for him. I think that he's got the athleticism. Everybody can see that. He's got the ability to run routes. Everybody who watches him can see that. And everybody knows the explosion at the catch point. I think it's just going to boil down to how well he's able to continue to create separation when defensive backs are like really tight on him. But I think that as far as his movement goes, no one really questions that. And to me, that is a huge green flag for a receiver.
So. Does anybody know offhand who Adonai Mitchell's quarterback is?
Well, it's not Gardner Minshew.
Yeah,
Anthony Richardson. Yeah, I can see where this pick. I can see where this pick comes from. I understand that this is another Colts propaganda thing.
It comes from the heart.
It might just be, but that's the narrative I've chosen for this offseason, I guess. And it's just like it's what's catching my eye and how I think the way that they're building their football team and the way that they run their offense to me feels like the way that the game of football is going.
Yeah, I think they're building something great. I mean, I think he was a good value pick where they got him. My concern is that he's going to take over the Alec Pierce role, which I think is like maybe the least fantasy friendly role in that offense. I know that he's better than Alec Pierce. Like, I don't think he's going to have the same exact type of targets as Alec Pierce. I think he's going to be like a vertical type of threat, and I'm worried about what kind of an impact he's actually going to be able to make.
I think that's what he is on day one. I think he walks in the building and he takes Alec Pierce's job. And then what excites me is the fact that he's 21 and he's never really had a chance to be the like true, like most talented pass catcher on his own football team. And I genuinely think that he has the upside to get to that point on Indy. I think that there could be a point in time 3 years from now where we're talking about the Colts letting Michael Pittman walk because they feel like they can feed everything to Adonai. And I don't know. I'm encapsulated by the player he is and the lack of weaknesses in his game. Like when people are saying, "Oh, he takes plays off," it's like, okay, well, when he actually is playing, which is like when I'm gonna want to know how he's doing, he's incredible at like everything. So,
yeah, I mean, he's a polarizing prospect. It's going to be interesting to see how he does fit in. I mean, I think you're absolutely right. He's gonna. I think he'll be a day one boundary receiver for them. I think he's definitely think he's better than Alec Pierce. If he's a big hit, it's going to hurt me in a big way because I don't think I'm going to have any shares, but that's the bet I've made for myself. Do either of you guys have strong feelings about AD?
I mean, I'll just back Ben up a little bit on AD. I think most of, if not all, the concerns are off the field with him, really. I mean, from anybody who's watching him, right? Like, I know that the numbers weren't quite there in college, so I get that part of it. But, you know, if he goes a little bit earlier, if he goes to the Bills, right, then you're probably kind of letting some of the red flags go and taking him in that Keon Coleman spot or taking him right here at 203 anyway, right? So, I mean, you know, you can kind of see Ben's just looking past that stuff, and he believes in the landing spot a little bit more than we do in general. Like, I just think it's hard for me to see him carving out like the role that you're talking about. Now, if you just see him as being able to, you know, elevate over Michael Pittman even, then that's strong. Like, yeah, then you pick him here, I guess.
Yeah, it's just strong. I mean, it's strong conviction. I can't fault anybody for having conviction on a player they like.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm just not there with him. I'm just not there with him. But that's okay. I mean, that's why we do this exercise for sure.
definitely.
That is one of the main reasons. And the guy that Chris is going to have to take at his next pick and his reaction to it is another reason. But
Well,
Billy,
I just
you're
have
here
one
to-
question. I have a
yeah.
genuine question about this. What do we make of when he says like he takes plays off, and you can see him not trying on some plays? Like, what's the reasoning behind that?
I mean, Ben may be able to speak to this a little bit better, but I mean, from what I have read and know, it's more of a coaching thing in Texas where it's like, if you're not the main guy on the play, or you're not one of the main reads on the play, like, you don't need to be running 100%. I don't know like how true that is. That's just what I keep hearing and seeing and reading. I see it from both of them. Like, Worthy was not immune to this. He did this times too. He's just more electric, more dynamic, and he makes bigger plays. So you're not going to notice it as much, right? Like it's just not going to appear to you as much when you're looking for faults in AD Mitchell's game. Like, why is this guy not producing? You're going to start seeing those things a little bit more, I think. So that's what I attribute it to.
Yeah, I don't really think that we will know why it was. Like, I don't think, like, because we're just not in the building, we don't know
Exactly.
like what they're telling them. But I mean, you could also say that maybe that part of it could be they're diagnosing the coverage before the play happens or while the play happens, and they realize that they're not going to be open, so they stop running their route. Like, that's there are a lot of like things that could be happening as to why he's like looking like he's taking plays off. So for me, that like the amount of context that is lacking from that makes it a weird thing to be driving his price down because it's a perceived risk. So
Yeah, I like the point. I do like the point that Billy made about maybe it is coming from the coach, and
yeah,
that's very excusable to me.
it's been the main rumor, I think, is that it was a coaching point.
But buddy, get ready to learn interview score. Have you seen
Oh.
interview score?
Yeah, it's not great.
It's not
Interview
looking good in
score
interview
gave us
score.
AD Mitchell in the mid-seconds, so I'm really not mad, bro.
No, I hear you. I do like the interview score stuff, and
Yeah,
that's all.
All right, Billy. I know who you're taking here.
You do?
Let's hear it. Let's put it down on paper.
You know who I'm taking here?
Yeah.
He's taking the
You want me
value.
to say it?
These are really tough spots for me because like I know that Penix is like, he's the 8th overall pick in the real draft. It's like, kind of got to take this guy.
He sure was.
But I want to go Pearsall.
Oh, I don't know who you're taking. I thought
The one guy.
Never mind.
I want to go Pearsall.
I thought you were gonna go. I thought you were gonna go Benson.
I absolutely love that pick.
And Penix is also like I'm looking through my rankings, our Dynasty Underdog rankings, and he's a bit below Pearsall in that range. I think it's so hard to spend like, this isn't premium picks, but like there's some good players here. It's hard to spend a premium type pick on a player who I think I could probably get cheaper in between now and next year or whenever the hell he starts. You run the risk of maybe an injury and him getting in there, obviously, but it's so hard for me to pull the trigger on Penix.
Yeah, I agree with that. The reason I thought you were going Trey Benson is I thought you had said that you were like between Coleman and Benson last pick. So I was like, oh well, this is going to be easy.
You did say that.
But
I did say that, and
I lied.
I have both of these guys over Coleman, actually, to be honest with you.
Right.
So
Fair
that's
enough,
why I
fair
was
enough.
saying it, and I was looking at Benson. Yeah.
I got you. I mean, I definitely think. I mean, I think it's totally defensible pick there. Like I like Pearsall too. I think this is a really strong group all the way to probably like 207, depending on or 208, depending on what order they go in, and
Chris is so
and
mad.
whether somebody reaches on AD Mitchell. But Chris, look, you knew this was coming. You knew this from like back at
Chris,
105.
I want to hear about
knew
why
this
you
was gonna
like him
happen
so much.
eventually.
I'm not mad that I have to take Penix. I'm mad that I didn't get to take Ricky Pearsall.
Tell us about Ricky Pearsall.
Yeah, tell us about Ricky Pearsall, because you seem to be falling in love with this man.
Ricky Pearsall has continued to elude me in every rookie draft I've been in. I've had
Even
mid-seconds
the fake ones.
and just can't get him. And then I'm like,
He's
okay,
playing hard
I got
to get.
2.05. I have a chance. Billy said he likes Benson better. Nope.
Yeah,
Ricky-
you literally dropped that. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna take
Yeah.
Penix so you can take Benson and Chris can get Pearsall, and everyone will be happy. Paul's not gonna take 80 at 6, so I can just take him at 7.
I have
Yeah,
Brooks,
so-
Pearsall, Nix, Benson. So just so I'm clear.
Yeah,
You have
so
Pearsall ahead of Knicks. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. That's bold.
I do
That's
love
tough,
Ricky
man.
Pearsall. I think
and I
he's a
think I'm gonna
great
regret it
fit
maybe.
on the
Right.
Niners. I think that they have 4 other assets that all are prone to get injured at one time or another. So he should have a good path to at least see playing time early. And then with the whole Debo and Ayuk thing, one or both of them might not be on the 49ers next year. I think this is almost similar to the Pearsall pick where it's like we have him and we might not need him. And if we don't need him, it's a good thing, but we'll have him later when we do need him. It's just he will be there. He will be there, next year and actually play next year, unlike Michael Penix, who I'm going to be forced to take here, who might not
You can
play
pass on
for.
him if you want.
No, I'm going to take him. I have to
Sure,
take
you
him. It's
can.
2.05. You can't. Look, anybody listening to or watching this, you hear how much I don't want to make this pick, but you just have to do it because you can't pass on the 8th overall pick in the draft at 2.05.
Yeah, you have to eat your
That's true.
vegetables. You have to pay your taxes. You have to draft Michael Penix if he falls to the second round of your rookie draft. Like these are just good, responsible adult things that you have to do.
Billy wants to talk.
I just have one more thing because I remembered this from the draft that we're all in. We're all in the Pokemon draft, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
this situation kind of happened. Trey Benson goes at 201. It goes Bo Nix, Ricky Pearsall, and I'm at 204. And that's when I take Michael Penix. So it kind of worked out where then Keon Coleman goes, Leggett goes. Like it worked out where it's exactly like the break for me where I have to take Penix, and it is right in that 204, 205 spot. So just like a live use case, that happened.
And it didn't feel fun to click the button, I'm sure.
No, I literally was sitting there. I was like, do I do something else? And I was like, no, I can't. There's literally nothing else I can do here. And I think my team could use like a backup quarterback with this kind of profile. So, I mean, I don't hate the profile. It's just got to be kind of like the perfect situation where everything kind of lines up for me.
Well, the Falcons thought the same exact thing at 8, so you're good there. Yeah, I mean, Michael Penix, he's probably not going to play for the next 3 years. He's going to be 42 years old by then. But, when he starts, he's still going to have 25-year-old Pitts and 24-year-old London. So
let me ask a question this way, right? Like, would you trade and try not to think of where I'm going with this because I don't want you to like preempt my question, but would you trade the 205 right now if you're on the clock for a 2026 first?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I offered this exact pick.
Yeah.
I offered this exact pick. I was on the clock and I was going to take Penix. I offered the pick for a 2025 second, just so I didn't have to take him.
I know it's not exactly the same thing, but because he might lose value and picks accrue value. But if you think of like if Michael Penix, the 8th overall pick, was in the 2026 class and Kirk Cousins was no longer on the Falcons, he would probably be a first rounder in Superflex. So it's almost like,
not if he's 27, bro. That's like Brandon Whedon. That's
I
what you're
mean,
drafting at that
I'm just
point.
trying to make the case for him. Like, I'm not saying it's exciting. I know, but I know there's an out for Cousins at least after the second year of his contract. They are going to have really nice weapons around him. It could be a really functional offensive system. I'm just trying to see the bright side here. I don't want to pick him either.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's kind of like you're investing,
you're
in a
absolutely right.
pick.
Penix is going to be, a 6 to 8 round startup pick for the next 3 years, and you can book it. He's just going to sit there, just like Jordan Love did, until he starts. And we do have Kirk Cousins coming off of the Achilles. Who knows how good he's going to be? Who knows if it's susceptible to re-injury? I mean, there's paths to this absolutely exploding, and there's every other negative path is him just sitting longer. But that's what everybody expects. This is like Paul was just saying, this is value insurance. This is going to sit here and gain value the closer and closer he gets to starting.
Yeah, I think that's the case.
Which is why I have to take him.
The good news is I get to just go ahead and make the fun pick. So
before you go, can I ask one more question about Michael Penix?
Absolutely.
Sorry, I keep asking these questions.
No,
that's the point. Yeah.
All I want to know is, so the Falcons' Week 1 starter is going to be Michael Penix, right?
It's going to be Kirk Cousins, right?
Is he healthy? He tore his Achilles in week 14, I thought.
Well, we saw. Aaron Rodgers was ready to play in week 13, so we're good, right?
Did Kirk do that too? I thought that was like superhuman stuff.
Even if so,
all I'm saying is there a world where we get
if
a
Penix
Dak
starts
and
week
Romo?
1, if
The
we're doing
Falcons
if there's
obviously, yeah. Go ahead,
yeah,
Chris.
if there's rookie drafts happening in August and they're like, okay, Kirk isn't ready. I mean,
Right,
Michael Penix should be. I mean, the end of the first at least.
right. That's what I'm thinking too. Is I feel like we have no reason to think Kirk will be ready by week 1 at this point, do we?
I mean,
I at least all my Kirk Cousins shares, I'm not preparing as if I'm gonna have him in week 1.
I
Yeah.
would say that the market thinks he's ready based on his ADP,
Yeah.
especially where he's
Market
going
thinks
on
it's
underdog
on
drafts.
underdog. Yep.
He's like the cute quarterback 14 or 15 on
Well,
underdog.
The
I'm
underdog
not saying
drafts
they're
are
right.
skewed towards end of season anyway.
I'm not saying they're right, but I do think that the general understanding is he'll be ready. I just don't know enough about quarterbacks getting this injury to know. Like,
Yeah.
if Cam Akers can get 20 carries in a playoff game 4 months after he tears his Achilles, like, I feel like Kirk Cousins can stand in the pocket and throw the ball. Like, I don't know. I feel like he'll be back, but I don't know.
With Penix, do you feel the need to rush him back at all, or would you rather just throw your
Right.
first round pick out there and see what
Maybe that's why they took him.
I have
Yeah, I mean,
no
that's
no
why you
idea.
That's a
bring
good
in-
point. It's a good
That's
point.
why you
It is
bring
a
in
good
like
point.
an older. That's why you bring in like an older, savvy veteran like Michael Penix.
Yeah.
You know he has
Exactly,
under his belt.
Penix is actually the bridge guy.
It's
They
kind of
drafted him
like-
at 8 to be a bridge
Yeah,
quarterback.
it's kind of
for
like
Bill
Jacoby
Raiola.
Brissett, for the Patriots.
That's good. That's good stuff.
Ridiculous, bro.
And that's why you
Oh,
picked Michael Penix
Jesus.
at 2.5. All right, Paul. who are you
Exactly.
picking?
That's what, yeah, I think that's what I'm trying to say is I think he's a good pick there because I think there's a crazy chance that he could just like have the job already and we don't even know it.
Well, I didn't appreciate this NFL draft selection for my few remaining James Conner shares, but I absolutely loved it for the player. I think Trey Benson is going to go nuts in Arizona sooner than later. I suspect this season he's going to kind of shadow James Conner. He's going to be the change of pace guy. I think Conner gets the bulk of the work as long as he remains healthy throughout this season. But I think moving ahead, like he's going to be the guy. I think this is a really good system. You look at Conner has basically his career year as a rusher at age 28. It was like the 7th highest graded rusher per PFF, and Amari DeMarcado was also one of the highest graded rushers per PFF. So I think there's some scheme action going on there where this is just like a really efficient running game. And I'm excited to see Benson, like super explosive. He can do everything you want him to do. And I just think this is going to be a really good offensive environment to be in with Kyler and Marvin Harrison and Trey McBride. Like, I think there's going to be scoring opportunities. So I love getting him here at the 206. I haven't gotten any Benson shares yet. I'm sad this one is fictional, but I definitely want to get some exposure to him.
Benson's a guy I don't have any of either. I agree with most of what you said about, there's long-term upside with him there in Arizona. And I mean, there's risk, but that's baked into a 206 price point for a potential RB1 of a pretty good offense. So it's a great value here. I would love to be drafting Benson at the 206.
Yeah, he just has to survive. Like, it depends how much work he gets this year, right? Because if he kind of redshirts this season and then he goes into the offseason as a 3rd rounder, people are going to have that conversation like, oh, well, is he going to survive a stacked running back class in 2025? Like, maybe, are they actually going to let him do it? So I think there is some risk here. It's not like a guarantee that he's just going to be the guy at some point, but I think there's a better than not chance that he will get his run to be the starter.
Yeah. No, I'm a fan of Benson. I think he's the perfect replacement to James Conner, like you said, just echoing that. I think he offers really similar skill set, size, everything. So yeah, it's a great spot, great offense.
Awesome. All right, Ben.
So I really am having another debate in my head. So I know there's a guy Billy really likes who I think he might take behind me, but I'm going to take Xavier Legette at the 207, and I'm going to call it a day there. I really like Legette. I thought that him getting first round draft capital was like done in a strange way, but like in kind of a way that definitely makes me a little slightly more confident because at least the Panthers felt the need to give up value to add his 5th year option onto his rookie deal. So they have long-term plans for him. They want him to be around there for a long time and they want to develop him, which is kind of weird for a 5th year player like him. And obviously there's a ton of flaws in Legette's profile that I don't need to like dive in depth on, like limited route tree, obviously extremely limited production profile. It doesn't take like a rocket scientist to break that down. But I think that there's upside with the Bryce Young pairing. I think that he's obviously a really talented player, and the 1 year that he did have was quite exceptional. He looks great on tape. I think he's got like a wide set of skills. I don't think he's their number one target earner this year or anytime super soon, because I love Deontay, and I think that his skill set caters more towards that. But he's gonna be a good football player. I like Xavier Leggett, so I'll take him in the mid-late second for sure.
Yeah, he's the last guy that I had in this group. I think he's a great value on the board here. Just getting a first round wide receiver this late, I don't care who it is really. You know, just with the historical hit rates, knowing what kind of opportunity they're going to find themselves in, and like you said, he did have that one huge season, which it gives you some hope. Like, it's definitely not a stereotypical profile, but you can at least see the ceiling. You know, the ceiling exists for a guy like him because of what he did. Like his 2023 is possibly the best single season of any prospect in this class, other than Harrison and Neighbors. Like he had a really, really, really good 2023 season. So yeah, I'm definitely interested in him there.
I'd love to hear Billy's opinion on it, but on film, it also kind of lined up. Like, if I was like only evaluating him based on his tape from this past season and all like evaluating all the other prospects just on their like 2023 tape, Leggett would be getting up there for sure. So
yeah, no, he would be up there. I was pretty impressed with the nuance that I saw in Leggett's game. Like he throws on a lot of manipulation movement in his routes. I think he could do a better job with his feet. I think at like the top of the route and stuff like that, he could definitely work on that stuff at the next level. But also, he's just got incredible ball skills. Like,
yeah, it's excellent at the catch point. It's really
amazing. Up there with the best in the class. Like, he goes up and gets the ball, and for a guy who had no production prior to that, you just see a lot of refined skill sets for the wide receiver position that you wouldn't expect. He's still got stuff to work on for sure, but obviously the Panthers believe the same, that you know he's worth the first round pick. So
he's a really strong hand.
Really, really strong. I've seen him fall later than this, and I mean, like Paul's saying, when you get a chance to get a first round wide receiver this late, you just got to take it.
Yeah. No, I definitely like a lot of what you said. You go ahead, Chris.
That's a quality that I don't watch film, but I do try to take in other people's film opinions. That's a quality I've been trying to get out of this class, and I've been able to find an answer. You said he has really strong hands. That's like one of my favorite things to hear about a wide receiver. Would you say, like, maybe after Harrison and Neighbors, he has like the best set of hands in the class?
Odunze.
Yeah.
Odunze might have the best hands in the class, like better than those top two. But Odunze, Leggett, stand out as like the strong, like there's like I was about to comp him to like AJ Brown before you were gonna talk, because I think that like people say he's DK because his like measurements kind of line up more to that. But I kind of think that the way that he's able to track the ball, like Billy was talking about, and like his ability to go up and high point it, and the way he just like pins it is kind of insane.
Yeah.
So no, he's that guy in the second at least.
But there's one other thing I want to say about Leggett, like his production for a guy that didn't have anything for 4 years and then fifth year had a breakout year. It's really hard to like give context for why that might have happened, but he's a guy where you might be able to, because he was facing those injuries. And is he the prospect that both his parents died while he was in college?
I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah.
So he was right. He was facing, there's a lot of issues that he faced in college and was able to stay in there and overcome them. And like Paul said, have one of the best seasons out of anybody in the class almost. So I think this guy really is being slept on by a lot of people.
Yeah. And I'm on Twitter trying to defend him from the Jonathan Mingo comps. Like, getting JJ Zacharyson attacking me in my mentions. No, that's not what happened. But
no, you attacked JJ.
I actually had no idea that he had tweeted that. Like it sucks because reading back what I tweeted, it sounds like I'm like subtweeting him, and like his tweets get so much traction that like it's
how could you not see it?
Right, exactly. But like I literally hadn't seen it. I don't even know if the timestamps work out or whatever, but I had seen other people saying it. Like,
a lot of people
he's Jonathan Mingo. Because it's funny. Like, it's funny that the Panthers drafted the late breakout guy too high 2 years in a row. Like, I get that. I just don't think that they're that similar, because Mingo's highest peak season was just so much better than Mingo's. Like I get in terms of the journeys they took that they're similar. It's just like Mingo's best season wouldn't be like a top 10 best season of any player in this class, whereas Leggett is like his peak is so much higher. So that's why I made the tweet about the comp, but I was a little bit dismissive of people, and then somebody posted JJ's tweet under the tweet, and then JJ was like, "Oh hey, I'd love to talk ball with you," and I was like, "Okay, I'm just gonna die of embarrassment now."
That was oh my god, that was a really funny let's talk ball. That was the most disingenuous let's talk ball I've seen in a while. Very
it
funny.
sucks because I love JJ. Like I think he's such a good analyst, and and I was just gonna like bury myself alive.
You'll come back from this one, Paul. Don't worry about it. The last thing I want to say about Leggett is that he was also forced to play out of position in high school. So it took him a lot longer to develop as wide receiver. He was forced to play quarterback, something that from what I read, he didn't want to do and also wasn't really well suited for. So just from high school, the parents, everything, just
COVID.
There's so much context that matters within his profile. If you don't know about it, then you can look at that and be like, this guy's just a one-hit wonder, and I don't think that's quite what he is.
Yeah, I agree with you. Let's move along to 208 here. Billy, you're up. You've got your pick here, and I think it's kind of wide open again.
Oh no, Ben was so generous here, leaving me my
Homer.
pick. This is you guys might not know where I'm going. This is the easiest pick for me. I'm going Ben Sennett here.
I knew it, dude.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, tight end, Washington, second round pick, goes to a place where I think he has a ton of opportunity, can build chemistry with Jaden Daniels. I also just really believe in this guy. I've been on him since January. You can check like the film room out stuff on the Dynasty Underdog YouTube channel. He is just a really well-rounded tight end. He's a guy who former fullback turned tight end, so the blocking ability is really there. So he's going to be able to be on the field at all times. And it's not that he's just a blocker. He's an offensive weapon. So I'm just excited about the draft capital, the landing spot, and getting him late second feels great to me. I've been taking him there everywhere.
Where would you rank him in last year's class?
Of wide receiver? I mean, of tight ends?
Yep.
As prospects or as
prospects?
Okay, yeah.
He I could look at my film grades, but just thinking off the top of my head, I think he would have been who was in last year's class. It was Laporta, Kincaid,
Mayer,
the Green Bay guys, right?
Mayer.
Oh yeah, draft. Yeah.
He likely would have been third, I think.
Okay. After
it would have been Laporta.
Kincaid.
No, I wasn't in on Kincaid like that. I would have had Mayer up there personally as a prospect. But Kincaid, I think for me, I've always said this. He lacks something like dynamic.
Your tight end pre-draft last year?
Huh?
Laporta was your pre-draft, or not pre-draft, but he was your tight end one last year as a prospect.
No, I think I had Mayer up there.
Okay.
Honestly.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I wasn't that high on Laporta. That early on.
Sorry, I thought you said Laporta 1 when you were giving your.
No. Or if I think I said him in that order, but I didn't mean it. As 1. Sure. But yeah, I think I would have him in that range. He'd probably be a similar grade to Kincaid though. I didn't think Kincaid was as dynamic after the catch as everybody else believes.
Yeah, he's really just a volume runner.
Yeah, really volume. Yep, exactly. Nailed it.
I like this pick. I just talked about Sanat in a video as a guy to target, and I just want to say a note about this pick. I think it's a great pick. His ADP right now is around 303, 304. So if you are in a draft, you can try to like put yourself in position to get him. I think it's going to go up because I think he was kind of buried in the sleeper ADP, and people are like not super sure who he is. And I think he will get into that second round. But if you want to be like a little bit sneaky, you can try to get into that early third and get him at value, because I think he is a great pick there.
He hasn't made it out of the second in any of my leagues so far.
Me.
Oh, really?
I would love to be drafting Benson not that late. So hopefully that happens to me soon.
Well, I got him at 304 in one, I guess yesterday or 2 days ago. I don't know. All the time has run together since I started doing rookie drafts.
That's what happens when you're in 40 leagues.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a product of the ADP, because he was buried, like you're saying, down in like the end of the third or whatever, which is shot up now to maybe beginning or late second, whatever it is. But I got him really late, but it's been creeping up each draft I've been in, and I've been worried in any league that there's like, like if I'm in a league with you guys, I was totally worried in that draft that in the Pokemon draft, I'm like, you guys are going to steal him from me for sure, right out from under my nose, because I just think the profile is so good. I don't get why we're not in on it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's kind of an out of nowhere prospect. Like he he only had the one real season playing tight end, so I think people are still kind of skeptical of him. But yeah, I agree with you. I think it's a great spot. He got the capital. Yeah, I mean, I like it. I like it a lot. Chris?
Oh, this is where it really falls off for me here, honestly.
Me too.
Yeah.
Dude's never happy when he's on the clock.
Yeah, no,
I'm
it's
not.
been
This is
tough
a
day for
breakdown.
Chris.
This
Yeah,
is
Paul
definitely
said
a
Billy
tier
gets all
break.
the worst picks, but I'd point to me. I think here I would take Burton. A lot of this is because I'm not expecting much this year at least, but I'm looking forward to potentially getting rid of Higgins and having him just be Joe Burrow's wide receiver 2 for his length of his rookie contract. I think this is a guy where you're going to get value insulation, where you're either going to get value insulation where a lot of reasons are made for, okay, he was behind Higgins and Chase, that's why he didn't produce, or it's going to be a JSN value dump where it's like, okay, this guy is just terrible. Why didn't he do anything? I think it's more likely will be that the exceptions are made and then he'll maintain value. And then after, Higgins is gone, he will jump back up and, be a guy that can produce for you next year. But this is not a guy you're going to be looking to play in your roster this year. It'll be a very much sit on your taxi till next year, bud.
I think I think it's going to be more the former just because there's not going to be expectations on him. Like, I don't think JSN fell because of the expectations and he started at such a high point. Like, nobody's drafting Burton thinking he's going to be usable right away.
Yep.
So I do like that. I think more likely than not, Higgins is on another team next year. It just doesn't seem like they're even close to an extension.
No, it's
so
toxic.
I think at the very least, late in the season, early in the offseason, you're going to get the this guy you've never heard of is going to be the wide receiver 2 on the Bengals next year. Like, you got to go out and get Jermaine Burton, and it's going to be like the worst kept secret in fantasy, and people are all going to be thinking that this is like the sleeper pick. And I think he will see a value boost most likely, unless he just totally falls on his face in his limited run he gets this year. But I do like the profile, so he was definitely on my radar here.
Paul, you have to put a note in your calendar to make that exact video title next year.
Yes, totally got to do that. Yeah, absolutely. I do like Burton. I think he would be an absolutely sweet pick to make in a Dynasty Best Ball League.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
Such a good one. Because this dude had a freaking 20-yard ADOT, I think, last year. Like, he just absurd down the field threat.
Yeah, he's a really cool player. I mean, all of his production was on like less than 40 catches, if I'm remembering that correctly off the top of my head. Like, I think he literally had like 37 or 39 receptions on the year, and like it was still like an analytical profile worth looking at for us. So he's a really cool player. He's obviously super efficient with the targets he gets and with his receptions and crazy big play upside. It's sort of a weird fit next to Chase because I don't know. I've been preaching on this show that like you should have like a nice diverse receiver room of body types and stuff like that. But like that explosiveness does threaten vertically in the same way that Chase's does. But you can never have too much of that in an offense, especially with Joe Burrow. So it's pretty sweet pick for sure.
Yeah, maybe they're trying to do like a Miami thing where they're just like everybody's fast, everybody can run down the field. I don't know.
Yeah,
good idea.
He can run routes too. So
yeah, I don't think he's ever going to be like a high volume guy just because we didn't see that in college. So I don't know what the absolute ceiling is, but you don't need him to have like a wide receiver 1 upside to take him here because you know that there's room for him to grow in value at this spot.
If I remember correctly, he's also really good in the red zone, right?
I'm not sure actually. I don't know
by the numbers, but
okay. I thought I saw something about that recently.
He's not like super small, so I mean,
yeah, exactly. Like maybe there's some upside there of like I don't know. His hands didn't pop out to me as some kind of crazy strength or anything like that. And I mean,
I thought he had pretty reliable hands though.
Skills. Yeah, it wasn't like yeah. I don't know if I'd consider it like a huge strength of his, but he definitely tracks it well as a deep threat. So I don't know how that could relate to him being like a reliable red zone option, but there's something.
Fun fact about Jermaine Burton before I make my pick is when he was on Georgia in 2021, he played with Brock Bowers, A.D. Mitchell, Jermaine. Sorry, he is Jermaine Burton.
Pickens.
Oh my gosh. Well, George Pickens played 4 games and then he got hurt. Darnell Washington, James Cook, And Lad
Wow.
McConkey. That's the name I was trying to think of.
Yep.
And he was second on that team in receiving yards as a sophomore. So he did have a role kind of carved out for himself there. Kind of a down year in Alabama after he transferred, but then obviously really, really strong senior season. So there's enough there. There's definitely enough there for me to take the shot in the late second. And I was between him and Jalen Polk, who I'm going to grab here. 37th pick in the draft. Why not? Right? Like, again, none of these guys are perfect, but early pick. He played with really, really good teammates in college. Adunze top 10 pick, McMillan a 3rd round pick. Like, it's reasonable that he wasn't able to have a huge breakout season playing with those guys. Matt Harmon likes him. JJ has also cited his teammate score as a reason to kind of have some optimism about him. So not absolutely in love with the player, but I will take the shot on early 2nd round draft capital tied to a quarterback that I really like in an offense that lacks a true alpha receiver here in the late second.
I don't really have any words about Jalen Polk. I'd love to hear what Billy has to say about this pick for sure, though.
I mean, I'd probably avoid him in most of the drafts. Like I can see the reasoning behind it, obviously with the draft capital, but I wasn't a big fan of his game coming out. I know that everybody's talking about how he does a good job at the catch point, that he has really strong hands. That's pretty much it. Like if you watch his game,
He's
he
not
doesn't
really a
do
film guy.
He doesn't do the best job of separating. He doesn't do a great job at the top of the route, but he definitely is a reliable pass catcher in contested catch situations. I think that it's more of like, I hate the way that they did this because I think that they picked him knowing that Drake May needs guys who can catch the ball in contested catch situations because of, some of the off target passes that he could be throwing and outside of their frame, right? He does a good job of catching the ball outside of his frame as well. So I think it's like it's a pick that they're like, we need to get certain guys in for him. And I hate that. I didn't like the pick at all. And I don't love the player. So like I said, I'll probably avoid him in most spots if I can, trade back if I can. And I've done that.
Okay, hater.
Sorry.
No,
yeah,
it's okay.
I've
been hating on
I
everybody's
do this
pick,
with my own. I do this with my own team though too sometimes, which it's like I'm pretty
Billy's
hard.
got every reason to hype up Polk.
I mean, I do. I would love to. I mean, listen. We might get to the other Patriots wide receiver. And
Dude, the thing is, I can't even argue with you. Like, I literally tweeted out yesterday, tell me the player. Like, I don't want to hear who you love or who you hate as a prospect. Who are you just aggressively neutral about? And I said Jalen Polk. Like, I have no emotions towards this guy. I'm just like, I don't know, early 2nd round pick.
37th pick, yeah.
Like, my other options are like 3rd round running backs that aren't starters. Like, what I don't know. I'll take Jalen Polk. Like, he's probably going to be an immediate starter on a open depth chart. Like, I'll take that. That's really all it is. Like, I don't have fun stats to kind of point to say why he's good. I just throw my hands up and I'm like, sometimes we're wrong. I don't know. And then I hit the button. Like, that's all I got. So
Can we Spider-Man meme Tyquan Thornton or no?
No, he's better than Tyquan.
Just overdrafted Patriots wide receiver.
He is a better profile.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think he's a better player on film too.
Oh, definitely better than Tyquan Thornton.
Yeah.
Just overdrafted.
Tyquan Thornton's way faster though. This
is like the Jonathan Mingo Xavier Leggett thing all over.
If they played in tights,
oh God,
Tyquan Thornton would be way better than Jalen Polk.
Bill's legacy sits on Tyquan Thornton. Just terrible.
It's tough, man. It's tough. Ben, we're getting towards the end of the 2nd round here. You're up at 211. What are you thinking?
Well, you mentioned 3rd round running backs who aren't the starter on their team.
Son of a bitch.
I'm not going to go that direction though. I'm actually going to take Troy Franklin here.
Wow, what a fake out.
Yeah. I just kind of felt like saying it. I love Troy Franklin at the end of the 2nd. I've hit this, I think, only once in my rookie drafts, but I think it's pretty sweet. I mean, I liked him as a prospect, not as much as a lot of the guys who ended up getting taken before him. I think he was in like the like end of the tier with Worthy, McConkey, Thomas, and for me, AD Mitchell was in that tier. And then Franklin was my 5th guy there as like the next of the receivers after the big 3. Obviously the draft capital was super disappointing, but he just missed being a day 2 pick. So I'm kind of willing to like let that be okay in my head. I know I shouldn't do that. And I know the hit rate on like round 4
Amon-Ra
wide
St.
receivers
Brown.
is totally abysmal. Other than that guy, I don't think they really have a
Well,
lot of
wasn't he
similarities in their
401 is what I'm
game.
saying?
Oh, he might have been. I think
Amon-Ra
he
was
definitely was
401.
close.
Amon-Ra was 4th. Puka
Yeah.
was 5th. Yeah.
No, I'm saying he
Yeah,
was
I
401.
mean-
he was the first pick on day 3.
Yes,
Oh,
I
was
think
he?
he was the first
Yeah.
pick on. Yes,
Yeah.
I believe he was.
Yeah. So I like the pairing with Nix. Like, obviously they did great stuff together at Oregon. I don't really think that highly of Nix as an NFL passer, but I think if Nix hits, Franklin's gonna hit, and I'm willing to take that bet here. So
Ball's fact checking me.
I'm fact checking. I don't think that's
I
true.
was,
Does anyone
he was
have
pick
thoughts about
112
Troy
of the fourth.
Franklin?
He was pick 112, 4th round.
Yeah.
I don't know how that.
That's
Yeah.
I
That
doubt
doesn't
that's
tell me
401
anything. I'm not
information.
sure how many comp picks there are in the 3rd
Oh
round,
yeah, that's
so
right.
Yeah, it changes every year too.
I don't think
yeah.
there's that many.
I don't
Troy
have
Franklin.
that many thoughts on Troy Franklin. He's a good player. He was better pre-draft, obviously. And if you drafted him before, you're probably a little peeved about the lack of draft capital. But I mean, he's going to get an opportunity there. He's probably one of their best receivers, if not their best receiver. As soon as he gets in the building, these are all handpicked Sean Payton guys, and we're gonna see what they've got. You know, I think it's a good bet for the cost of entry here.
He was 407.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you get this far down, it's like it's definitely splitting hairs to say whether it's a good pick or not. I think for me, he probably has to get to like the mid 3rd before I'm comfortable. But I'm just such a draft capital truther. Like, I can't shake the hit rates. You know, it's I just looked it up. It was 4% or 3.6% of wide receivers drafted in rounds 4 through 7 since the year 2000 have a career points per game of 10 or higher. So like basically 14 out of 386 wide receivers drafted have hit 10 points per game across their career. It's just a really long odds. And like, I think he has one of the better profiles we've seen go on day 3 in recent seasons. So like, I totally get making the bet. It just feels scary, but he's got his college quarterback. He was, the 401 for whatever that's worth. So I think there's definitely reasons to be interested in him.
I didn't even realize that connection. Didn't even think about that.
You did? You didn't realize the next thing? Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean that's definitely a plus for him getting that
Oh,
natural
yeah.
stack, and
I mean,
yeah,
just look at Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase.
Yeah, no, totally, and I think that this is a good spot in the draft, like where if you want to make the bet, you can.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. Billy, you get to close out yet another round of this rookie mock. 212.
Yeah, I'm excited. There's some wide receivers who I do think that you could totally consider here, but I'm gonna go Jalen Wright. I don't hate this landing spot that much. I really like this player pre-draft. I am kind of interested to know kind of what Ben thinks about this player from a film perspective, but I don't hate the landing spot. I wasn't expecting him to be like a full-time workhorse running back, and I think this is kind of one of the better situations you can get into with his kind of profile where he can be, a home run hitting slasher alongside A-Chain. So I really like it. I don't think either one of them is a workhorse, and it kind of works well for both of them to be, a weekly flex play for you. And at the end of the second, you get him in the beginning of the 3rd, whatever. I like him at the spot.
Yeah, the Dolphins are a really tough running back room for me to wrap my head around right now. I like really wanted to buy into A-Kane early this offseason because I didn't have any. So I did it pretty aggressively. And my gut reaction, sorry guys, I'm going to go into a coughing fit right now.
Ben's just dying off
I
screen.
Actually haven't heard. I haven't heard a lot of people liking the right spot, but I agree with you. I think it's a good fit for his skill set, and Ben is back, and he seems to still be alive. So I'm gonna let him jump back in here. He's trying to evaluate the Miami running back room.
When Billy asked me about like my film take on Wright, it was interesting because he reminded me so much of Mostert, and this takes me back to something that Billy talked about the first time I asked you about like running back scouting. We were talking about Kendre Miller, and you told me to pay attention to his gait and the way that he walks, like the way that he like moves his legs when he runs. And that was the big thing that stood out to me about Wright is how long his strides are and how much distance he covers with each step, and how nice that is for like a zone running scheme because he hits the gap so hard. And then he's just gone with that speed. And like the long stride also adds to like, I feel like the contact balance of his strides to where it's harder to take him down because his leg is covering so much ground and it's coming at you with so much velocity that it makes it hard to just hand tackle him. It does lead to him tripping a lot, I think, but it makes it hard to get him down. So I think that I think he's a really cool player. He reminds me a lot of Mostert. And because of that, I don't know where to draft him because Mostert's been a great player, but him and Akane kind of have this value battle where you don't really know who's going to be hitting that week in a way. Like you just don't know who's going to be the touchdown scorer. So I imagine it's going to be like a little frustrating to manage that as like a fantasy owner when you usually are looking for dependability from your running backs. But I don't know. I think both of those guys have just a ridiculous amount of upside. And I love the Pickett at 12 for sure. I haven't been able to get my hands on him yet, but he's
I just want to say I was in heaven there listening to Ben talk about
that was awesome.
The film right there on right. I think you crushed it there for sure. I agree with everything you said. And also just the last thing on this is sorry, Paul, I don't mean to cut you off, but the last thing on this is if there were to be an injury to either one of those guys, like you have amazing upside, right? Like they're obviously going to always use multiple players, but I do agree he kind of fits that Mostert role. And after this year, they're the future. It's right in A-Chain.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and they have a ton of, I mean, we know that both of those guys they have missed games. They are known to miss time. Like it's not hard to picture Jalen Wright having a huge explosive game sometime early in the season even. And I think, we get to a point where if it is just Achane and Wright at some point soon, I think you can start both of them and just know like some weeks you're going to get 5, but some weeks you're going to get 25. And like, that's fine. I mean, we get that at wide receiver too. It's okay to have boom bust assets in your lineup. Like they can win you weeks. You just have to be okay with, ride the wave. But yeah, I agree with both of you. I like the landing spot. And he's definitely worth the pick there. Chris,
did you have something on Wright?
No, I was just going to say what Paul said. I was just, those injury prone is not a thing, but if you were going to pick 2 running backs you wanted to sit behind, it would be Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane.
Yeah, for sure.
I think the per touch efficiency with the Miami running backs is just going to always be like an insanely appealing thing that you want. And even like their RB3 is all like you have Jeff Wilson in the back of your mind when you're looking at your like late round startup throwers because he's going to have a couple like spike weeks or like someone's going to get hurt and then he'll be lined up for 10 touches. And that's enough in a Mike McDaniel offense to where you're like, okay, maybe I'll throw this guy in my lineup. So I think the Mike McDaniel running back is going to be a thing for us for probably a long time in Dynasty.
Yeah, that's a good point. Before I let Chris kick off the last round of our rookie mock, I'm going to recap round 2. We started it off with Chris, who took Bo Nix. We went Keon Coleman, Adonai Mitchell, Ricky Pearsall, Michael Penix, Trey Benson, Xavier Legette, Ben Sinnott, Jermaine Burton, Jalen Polk, Troy Franklin, and Jalen Wright to close things off.